Are they insane? You tell me at the end of this video. These guys are digging their own graves. We're watching these moron globalists destroy our way of life right before our eyes. And the latest moves this weekend prove my point. Somehow, they believe these big moves they are making are going to hurt Putin and China, when in fact the opposite is true. You and I are going to be hurt by this. These people are delusional because in many ways, Putin just scored a knockout blow to Europe and the World Economic Forum, proving that his way of providing energy and food to his people is the correct way. Look, this is a contrarian point of view. I know my opinion is not popular on CNN, but the truth is that these unelected globalists are screwing all of us, and they just made big moves on energy policy this weekend that I think seals their fate. And I believe this is a knockout blow for Europe, really like going back into the dark ages. It's kind of like the boiling frog metaphor. You know this metaphor, right? The water starts getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and the frog doesn't notice until it's too late. So everything Klaus Schwab and the European leaders are doing will destroy our way of life, but we won't notice it until it's too late. Suddenly we open our refrigerators and we have no food and we have no energy. But we're not going to let them get away with it because I see exactly what they're doing. They'll just label people like you and me as alarmists and try to insult us and mock us. But we're watching them very closely, and you should too. So I'll get to the nitty-gritty details of just what happened this weekend, in fact, just a few moments ago, because the numbers don't lie, and you're going to be blown away at what I show you. It's actually pretty crazy. And these numbers are like the frog being put into the pot at this moment. Most people aren't paying attention. They're watching football. They're not really paying attention to any of this. So the first big moves happened this weekend in the Netherlands. It's getting really bad. You're seeing how this globalist agenda is now moved just beyond the theoretical, the printed out paper at the World Economic Forum, to actively destroying lives and pushing us into the Middle Ages. So here's the headline. Look. Netherlands to close up to 3,000 farms to comply with EU rules. Yeah, this isn't conspiracy level stuff. They want to get you to stop eating meat, start eating their highly processed fake food. It's happening.
The Dutch government, however, has not listened to the farmers and is now about to shut down, wait for this, 3,000 farms. They're going to close down. This is World Economic Forum Klaus Schwab stuff on steroids.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. These unelected thugs forced nitrogen regulations on these small farmers. They can't comply with them, so now 3,000 farms are about to be taken from these farmers. And this morning, thousands of farmers taking to the streets, blocking roads, telling these thugs to stay off our farms. Without nitrogen, you can't make fertilizer, and then that means you cannot eat food. Police using heavy machinery to tip over tractors. Look at this, with farmers still inside of them. When protesters peacefully stand against the machines, the police drag them into black vans. This is shocking stuff. In a Western democracy, a country dragging farmers into nameless vans? And in Germany, a country that shut down its nuclear reactors, kept 3 of them running just for a few more months because it realized people can't heat their homes. And now Germany is about to prevent its farmers from fertilizing their farms. You see how this is catching on? The boiling water starting to get warmer and warmer. Listen to academic researcher Ralph Schulhammer on this. I spoke to him just a few minutes ago.
Because you're absolutely right. I mean, it is absurd. I mean, we watch currently European leaders at least sometimes speak out against what's going on in China's zero COVID policy, but we do exactly the same just in another area, right? Whether it's truckers in Canada or farmers in the Netherlands, it's looks almost like we take the playbook from the Chinese and we are like shocked when they do it, but we have no problems doing it ourselves.
And now the piece de resistance. These globalists this weekend announced a 60 euro price cap on Putin's oil. So Ursula announces this like something she's really proud of, as if something Putin is actually going to put up with. It's like, hey, I'm selling bananas at my store for $3 a bunch. And then you walk into my store and you say you're only going to buy them for 60 cents. Yeah, good luck with that. So let's get this right. Europe has dropped dependence on Russian oil and natural gas from 40% down to 9%, while at the same time shutting down nuclear power plants. Are they insane? Well, the answer is yes, if you were looking for it. So what von der Leyen is not telling you is that Europe is paying triple the price to have liquid natural gas processed and shipped from the United States. Of course, the same with oil and uranium. So instead of using a freaking pipeline that comes directly from Russia, they're going to put it on ships instead and send it across the ocean and pay 3 times as much. Now, Putin could deal the death blow to Europe if he stops sending them uranium altogether. The US produces no uranium right now, 0. And Europe is starting to see how important nuclear power is. But of course, if Putin shuts down their supply of uranium, We're truly in the dark ages. I just asked Ralph this very question about uranium, and he says Europe has put so many restrictions in place on uranium that it's screwed itself. Watch.
Uranium question is a good one because it's the same with natural gas and oil. Europe would have uranium, but of course we cannot mine it because environmental conditions, right? Environmental restrictions and regulations. And the other point is, if you look at Germany at the moment, I mean, if it wouldn't be so sad, it would be hilarious. Currently, while we are talking, Germany's electricity production is one of the dirtiest in the world. It's dirtier than India, it's dirtier than South Africa. They're like number 170 out of 177 nations when it comes to CO2 emissions per kilowatt hour produced. Because there is not a lot of wind and not a lot of sun at the moment. So where do they get electricity from? They get it from burning coal and they get it from burning gas, which is, of course, significantly more CO2 intensive. And they still insist on saying, no, we're going to close down nuclear. It makes no difference. Over the last 30 days, 4 gigawatt of installed nuclear, because if there is no sun, if there is no wind, it doesn't matter how many photovoltaic and solar farms you have, and it doesn't matter how many wind turbines you put up, they are not moving, they're not doing anything. So it's exactly the same thing, just in another area than we have with the Dutch farmers, right? It's a form of cognitive dissonance, right? You double down on the policy.
So this is why they're asking you to turn down your thermostat at night. Put on an extra sweater because we're sticking it to Putin. Instead, Putin is increasing outputs to China and the Middle East and increasing uranium production, while the United States and Europe does nothing. The US has zero uranium production. Zero. So back to my frog metaphor. You see, this is what's happening. They shut down the farms so we don't have agriculture. We will see greater food shortages without these farms. You won't notice it at first, but then by next winter, everyone's going to wonder, hey, why don't we have any food? I just finished reading Alex Epstein's great book called Fossil Future. I highly recommend it. He says that these moves that these globalists are making will put us into a modern dark age because there's this idea that, oh, we don't want farms anymore because somehow the farming harms the planet. And we'll just get them to return to forests. And then you can go outside and forage for food and find berries. But he makes the point in the book that our world is naturally harsh. Like the earth is actually naturally harsh. And he makes the point that these morons want these farms to return to nature. And when they return to nature, they don't produce food. You might have one random apple tree, but you're not going to have fresh vegetables, tomatoes, fruits. Those things don't just grow in forest patches. You have to work for it. You have to cultivate it with fossil fuel powered farming equipment. Morons. The reason we have advanced so far is because of modern farming, because of fossil fuels, because of production, that we're able to produce food. We're able to heat our homes. And when you take these things away, you literally return us to the dark ages, a pre-industrial time when these comforts we enjoy will be taken away from us. And I'm not talking about kicking back and playing a PlayStation type of comfort. I'm talking about heating your home and your food. That's important. Another key point that we're missing is that we need intense amounts of energy to produce and forge things like steel and iron and other materials that we use for building. And the only way we get to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit is either by using fossil fuels or nuclear power. So take those away and we can't have steel anymore. We can't have building materials anymore. You're not going to get that from a wind farm. They're not going to be able to use enough solar and wind power to be able to produce enough heat and energy to get up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit for us to produce any raw materials. And the rest is pure insanity. As journalist Michael Schellenberger points out, no nation has done more to support renewables than Germany. And it's relied on to have a natural gas as a backup source because it's just not sunny during the winter. So you need natural gas. This is the main problem. And it's not even windy right now. That's the problem. All of these renewables require massive amounts of natural gas and coal backups. If you don't use nuclear, you don't need that. So these clowns are taking away our way of life. We have to stop them. I'll have a link in the description below to a petition we're working on to stop the WEF globalist agenda. Please join us in this fight. So that's the news part of this show. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor for this video, and it's one of my favorite uranium companies. It's Uranium Energy Corporation, stock ticker UEC. Now, just a frame of reference, since their March low of 2020, they are now up 700%. These guys are amazing. And as America and Europe wake up to the fact that they cannot rely on Putin's uranium anymore, this company is in an absolute driver's seat to be one of the biggest producers of uranium enrichment in the world. This is incredibly important, guys, because the West just blew up Putin's $11 billion gas pipeline to Europe. Germans are going to freeze this winter because it's all part of the plan. They shut down all of their nuclear plants, so they have no energy, and they need Russia's uranium unless North American producers can somehow take over that market, which they're ramping up to do right now. So I've been investing in these North American uranium producers because of the huge upside. So some quick data points here. Russia does its own exploring for uranium. It does its own extraction of uranium. It does its own refinement. It also does its own enrichment. And then it sells it to the United States and Germany. I mean, this is insanity. Putin literally holds the keys to America and Europe's energy future unless they do something about it. And it doesn't look like they are. Because of that, analysts expect the demand for uranium to skyrocket. Now that Japan is restarting its nuclear program, they're going to need to get their uranium from the United States and other sources. They're not going to get it from Putin. That's why I'm incredibly bullish on Uranium Energy Corporation, UEC, who is expanding their drilling and their operations because Western governments are not going to continue buying from Russia. Right now, they have to. 50% of all American enriched uranium comes from Russia. That's no bueno. How in the world are you going to actively sanction Russia while at the same time keep buying their minerals? The answer is you're not. So we need producers like Uranium Energy Corporation more than ever. So here is their stock ticker on your screen, again, on the New York Stock Exchange. And just some market data for you on this stock. In 2022, while the stock market is down 30%, UEC has been flat, which is a perfect zero, like nothing going on, nothing happening. So any hedge fund manager that would have been able to deliver a zero would probably win an award and get a huge pat on the back this year because everyone else was getting hammered and you would have survived the storm with a zero, not a lot of profits, but also you didn't take it in the stomach and get punched in the gut. So if you were investing in uranium stocks this year, if you were investing in UEC, you would have been golden. Now, if you understand how much the U.S. lacks in domestic production, you'll understand why this is such an important investment. They have mines in Texas and Wyoming, and the former Energy Secretary, Spencer Abraham, is on the board of UEC. So having a former government insider on the board is a huge piece of this puzzle. That means they're talking to Washington on a regular basis. And the only thing that Democrats and Republicans agree on right now is the need to ramp up nuclear energy production. The Biden administration wants Congress to approve that $4.3 billion for uranium production, moving us away from Russia, and they need to do this. Uranium Energy Corporation, which is headquartered in Texas, is literally the only play in town right now in North America because of their access to these mines that they already have ready to go. It takes 10 years or longer to bring one of these mines online, so we don't have that kind of time. So what company do you think is going to be front and center in America as we shift back to nuclear? So UEC is currently trading as of this afternoon at $3.73 a share as of this video. Now, the last time we told you about them, they were trading at $3.60 a share. So that was a few months ago. So it's continued to go up. And analysts are out with a new price target today of $8.25 a share over the next 10 or 11 months. So they see it jumping from $3 a share to over $8 a share. I'm no genius in math, but that is a 120% jump. That's huge. This is the fastest 100% unhedged pure uranium play in America right now, with production-ready mines and a balance sheet of $182 million in assets with zero debt. And they have over 5 million pounds of uranium warehoused in the United States, ready for sale to the U.S. government. So get ready for an explosion in value, in my opinion. There's no way that we can beat China and Russia if we buy all of our uranium from them. So that's why I'm so bullish on this company, and I've been an investor for a long time now. I want you to do your own due diligence on this company. Check them out. I'll have a link to their website in the description below. You can check them out on the New York Stock Exchange under the stock ticker UEC. I'll have that in the description below as well, and I'll see you next time, everyone.